Hey there, Nick here, and welcome to CNF, the Cruise in Family Cruise Show. Today I'm going to talk about cruising in a hurricane. Well, the hurricane season is upon us. It began at the start of June. I know that the hurricane season has not started to fire up yet, and I hope that smooth sailings for everybody out there. But like the title of this video says, I'm going to share what it's like cruising in a hurricane and what you might do to prepare if you're cruising during hurricane season. Before I get into that, I just need to say, yes, in 2010, we were on the Carnival Conquest on a Western Caribbean cruise when Hurricane Paula came through. And we did experience 20-foot plus swells on one of the afternoons during that, and we did have our itinerary changed. So I'm not just speaking from theoretical ideas. I'm speaking from experience, past experience. I know that's been a little while, but hopefully, if you're in that situation, if it happens to you, you can glean some information from this video. So, have you ever wondered what happens if your cruise is scheduled during hurricane season, or worse, you're already on the ship when a hurricane forms? Don't worry. In this video, we're going to break down what the cruise lines do, what passengers can expect, and how to stay prepared if you're cruising during a storm. So let's get into it. Hurricane season in the Atlantic officially runs from June 1st to November 30th. That's a long time, guys. It's a lot of the calendar year. And that doesn't mean that there's a hurricane in the Caribbean all the time during that time. It means that they can typically form from June 1st clear through the end of November. The peak activity level is typically between August and October. So if you're looking at the peak activity level, August to October are those things. And yes, I've cruised in October several times. So that's also when cruise deals tend to pop up. The kids are back in school. People are coming off their summer breaks, all of those things. But we can still do it. We can still cruise with minimal risk. To start off, if a cruise is forecasted near your departure port, before you board, cruise lines might do one of three things. First, they might change the itinerary. Ports might be switched or reversed, or a whole new direction might be given you. Number two, they might delay departure or the return of the cruise before yours. Sailing may be shortened or extended. And three, they could cancel the cruise. This is a rare occasion, but it does happen in extreme situations, and depending on the circumstance, not only at the port but also in the Caribbean itself. So I read on Facebook and cruise, people talking about experiences. Some cruise lines may offer credit or refunds if your sailing is canceled due to weather. However, don't expect that. Don't go into it thinking, oh, we're going to get a refund. They're gonna offer us unlimited drinks, anything like that. Don't expect any of those things. Just as much as they know they're at risk, they also know that their passengers understand that as well. So read the fine print in your cruise contract. It definitely talks about what they're responsible for in those circumstances. So what happens if you're already at sea? If a hurricane forms mid-cruise, ships don't just ride it out. The vessel can travel fast these vessels can travel faster than most storms, and cruise lines monitor the weather 24/7. It's, the safety of the passenger is paramount to the cruise lines They are taking calculated risks that they don't believe will put their passengers in harm's way. They'll reroute you around the storm, sometimes adding sea days or changing ports. Safety is a priority, and sticking to that brochure is not. In our situation, when we were in the Caribbean with Hurricane Paula, that's exactly what they did. They changed the order of the ports. They first came and said, we're going to completely reroute us and go over to Key West and do kind of a Eastern Caribbean situation. And they said, no, we're going to go this direction. And that was based on the changes in the direction of the storm. So we flipped ports and changed the amount of time that we were in those ports. And that was their answer to how we stay safe. Basically putting the ship in the Caribbean in locations where the storm was not. They couldn't completely avoid it. As I said at the beginning, we had large swells, but the ship itself wasn't in danger of any damage, and the passengers as well. So you might have a friend, or you might yourself wonder, is a ship safe during hurricanes? Modern cruise ships are designed to withstand rough waters, but they avoid storms at all costs. The captain, cruise line, and even Coast Guard are constantly in communication. You might feel rockier seas, but you won't be in the center of the hurricane. Ships steer hundreds of miles away from that situation. So that question, if you're in the middle of a hurricane, just like any other vessel, it can be dangerous. But the reality is the cruise line keeps us safe, keeps us away from being put into danger. They're protecting you, the passenger, and they're also protecting their own assets as well, keeping their ships safe, because they don't want damage to their ship. Here are some tips to keep in mind during the hurricane season. When at all possible, book flexible airfare and hotels in case your plans do end up changing. In case you do end up needing to switch something out, or at the worst, your cruise is canceled. Being stranded, feeling like you're stranded with no assistance, isn't the intention of the cruise line, but also we're partly responsible in that situation. The consumer is. So also you should pack sickness medicine. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and have to scramble to see if you can get something like that. Make sure that you get travel insurance, including trip interruption coverage. There are plans out there that if you're traveling a lot, that they'll cover like an entire year, not just a trip. So definitely do your research on that travel insurance, and get what you feel like will meet your needs, and be wary of self insuring. The next tip here is download your cruise line's app for real-time updates. They're going to want to, the cruise line wants to stay in touch with you. They want to get information that's meaningful to you, and make it simple for them and make it simple for yourself by either signing up for like text messages or going onto their app, making sure that that's set. Make sure that you're kind of subscribed to whatever could be coming your way. And another tip, stay flexible. Think of it as an adventure and not just like that checklist. And I know that's hard to do when this is your vacation, the thing that you've been planning, you've been looking forward to, you've been emotionally investing in for weeks, months, maybe even years. But keeping in mind that we need to be flexible, especially if you know that there's a possibility that the hurricane could be there. That flexibility is far better than being put into harm's way. Cruising during the hurricane season isn't as scary as it sounds. Cruise lines do everything possible to keep guests safe and comfortable. And I'll say from my experience, the cruise line that we were with, Carnival, did very well by us. This is back in 2010. So like I said, they flipped our ports. We ended up getting to every single port on our itinerary. We didn't have anything substituted. We actually ended up staying longer in one of the locations and didn't have to shorten any time in any of the other locations. And they gave us future onboard credit towards another cruise. And I laugh about it. I think that it's it's interesting because I wasn't looking for any of those things, and it was nice to have a cruise line keeping us safe. But they stepped up, and even though we ended up going to all of our ports and having a great time in those ports, like we had sunny days, so we made it over to Cozumel, we made it to Grand Cayman. Grand Cayman was on my wife's bucket list in 2010. We made it there. We got to go swim with stingrays. It was a great cruise. We actually met some of our good cruise friends on that cruise, and I recently took a reunion cruise with them a couple years back here. So definitely, it actually brought out that adventure spirit of being able to be in the ocean, being in the Caribbean during a hurricane. I feel like brought out that adventure spirit of going and seeing and doing new things. So definitely make sure that you go with what you feel comfortable with. But if you feel comfortable with it, understand it could be a little bit of adventure for you. So the biggest challenge is that flexibility. Make sure that you are okay with flexibility. If you go with the right mindset, you might even get an extra sea day or discover a port you never expected. And we didn't do either of those things. Our cruise length was the same amount of time, but we definitely got a lot of adventure, and it was because of that flexible mindset that I just talked about. So, have you ever cruised during a storm or during a hurricane? If you have, leave your experiences down in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. I want to say thank you guys so much for making it to this part of the video. If you've enjoyed something I've talked about, consider giving me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if there's anything I can do to help or support you, if there are questions that you have, please leave them in the comments down below. And I want to just say thank you so much. You guys have a great day. See you around. Bye.